Today's Monday, March 2nd, 2020, and after about 15 minutes of having his door opened and having this branch here, TC is slowly but surely venturing out of his enclosure. He has been coming to his door a lot, and when I open it, he likes to sit on the edge and sometimes stick his head out, but he hasn't been coming out at all. He's just been content to sit at his enclosure threshold, but he seems to like to have the door open. Today's the first time in a couple of weeks that he's ventured this far out of his enclosure. And I did put this branch here to kind of try and entice him a little bit and see if that might elicit some curiosity out of him. And then I just backed off and sat about 10 feet away, and I've been watching him. He's still got part of himself anchored in that water. He loves that water. And here's one of his roommates. This is one of our Morelia spilota. She's thinking she might want to come out. This is Dorina. Hi, Dorina. She was produced by Roy Stewart at Tierra de Morelia, who's local here to the Colorado Springs, Denver area. It's still Monday, March 2nd, 2020. It's been about 35 minutes since I opened Ceti's enclosure door. And this is all the farther he's come out, and that's okay. I'm sitting in here doing some other work. So if he chooses to sit here, that's fine. I'm not going to force him out. He was mildly interested in the branch, but he has sort of abandoned that. And his companion here in the room has crawled out of her enclosure somewhat and seems interested in crawling on top of this other one. I'm surprised they're even awake during the day. They usually don't wake up until much later, early evening, usually between 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. they really get active. So an interesting behavior just occurred. He started to crawl underneath the enclosure, which is something I don't allow him to do. And it's something in the past that when he has started to do, I have intervened and placed him back in his enclosure. And so he started crawling underneath his enclosure just now. And I got up from where I was sitting and walked over here, and he stopped and retreated and got back on the table. In other words, he took his head and the front part of his body from underneath the enclosure, and now it's sitting back on the solid surface of the table. And that was a result of me just walking over here, and I'm still about 4 feet away from him. Okay, well, TC's been out for an hour. When I say out, his door's been open for an hour, and I've been sitting in the room with him, and this is all the further that he's ventured out. He did try to climb under his enclosure at one point, but when I walked over here, he smartly stopped himself and proceeded to sit like this for another few minutes. So I have to go do other things, and TC's going to have to go back all the way inside his enclosure so that I can leave the room, because otherwise he'll be out and unsupervised, and I'm not ready for him to do that. Okay, TC, you're gonna have to go back in. Can you put yourself back in for me, or is Mom gonna have to pick you up? You're usually good at getting the idea. Yeah, good boy. Nice job. I will check on you later. Hello, TC. Are you actually going to maybe come out today? Do you want me to put the branch here for you? Okay. There you go. If you come out, I'll feed you. I think it's About time for you to eat again. Good boy. That's not really the direction I want you to be going, TC. Don't think you're going to go in that little cubby hole. I said do not go in there. I'm going to snatch you right out. Well, not really snatch, but gently take you out. You do not need to go crawling back into places where I can't get to you. How come you can't explore this branch? Then you can, if you want to go up high, I can take you onto the other snake tree. You're going to make me have to put this camera down because I cannot deal with you and hold this camera. No. We're done with that. Thank you. What am I going to do with you? You're not being a very nice snake right now. No. Wait here while I thaw you a meal. This usually keeps you occupied for a little while. You always climb way up there in the very beginning. You're so silly, it goes nowhere. He does this behavior first thing every time he's on this tree. He sits up there for a little while and then eventually he comes down. And he does know how to get off of this tree. Okay, I'm gonna leave you there for a few minutes and I'll thaw you out some food. Please be a good boy. Hi TC, are you coming back down? I'm thawing you some food. And I'm thawing you the biggest rodent size that you have ever eaten. I think it's time to sporadically start giving you a little bit bigger meals. What does that sound like? A good idea? Well, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens, huh? You're a goofy snake, TC. Very, very different than my Brettles pythons. Completely different personality, huh? I think you're maturing a lot later than they do as well. You still act like a little bitty baby. Yeah, and you're 8 months old. You sure are. What are you looking at me like that for? Just go about your business. Don't worry about what I'm doing. Okay, TC, it looks like that you've started to come down. So here's what we're gonna do, okay? We're gonna go weigh you, and then you're gonna get to eat. All right? You're fine. How about you climb onto me instead of this snake tree? Okay? We're gonna get your weight, and then you're gonna get a meal. And you'll be very happy, and then you can go back in your enclosure and you can stay in there for as long as you want. All right. Can we do that? How about you stay just on one of my arms so that I have the other one free to do stuff? That would be fantastic. Good boy. We are going to put the weight on you. All right. 268 grams. All right. I think that's what you weighed last time too. Let's do it this way and just double check. We'll see what you weigh with the tub, and then we can subtract from there. 1,700. Inrest off. So that was 1,700 with you and the tub and the lid. Very good boy. Right there. All right. Good job, Ceci. Like you're all finished, TC. Would you like to go back into your enclosure? No, don't look at me like I'm going to feed you again. I'm not feeding you again. Nope. You ate a huge meal just now. You're not getting any more food. One food item is enough when the meal's that big. That was a big wean. Well, it wasn't a big wean rat. It was a weaned rat, which is the biggest meal that you've ever eaten. So you're not getting fed again, okay? Let's go back in your enclosure. You want to just go in there and climb from your tub into your enclosure? Let's do that. Good boy. All right, say goodbye. Everybody, thanks for watching. TC's got a full belly and I'm going to take him back to his enclosure so that he can rest and digest. Say goodbye, TC. for watching this episode of Super Dwarf Sunday. TC is back in his enclosure. He shifts immediately back into his enclosure. He's very good at that. So I carried his feeding and weighing bin over to his enclosure and I set it adjacent to it. And within just a few seconds, he slowly crawled back in and he's happy to be back in his enclosure. He seems very content in his enclosure lately. In fact, not wanting to come out very often, but he seems to like to sit there with the door open. And so we're just allowing him to do that. And he was very good about coming out on his own tonight. He was going to get some time to explore until he decided to try to go between the enclosures where I didn't want him to get into because it would be very difficult to get him out if he decided to stay there. So then he got to spend some time on our snake tree, and then he got weighed and he got to eat. And that all went very, very well. And so until next time, everybody please remember to always be kind and love your animals.